Hello, this is Spartan Commander, and this is the 192nd Rome Total War Brotherhood game that I've put onto YouTube. The team I'm in today consists of Brotherhood member Axilius, who has bought the Rome SPQR faction. And then we have Brotherhood member Steve Longshanks, who has also bought the Rome SPQR faction. And then we have Brotherhood member Terrible Turk, who has bought the Pontus faction. An unusual faction to bring to 31k battlefields, bought now and again but not that often. And looking at his army here, I see that he's got two of their formidable scythed chariots. If we have a closer look at the chariots, can you see not only have they got spikes on the wheels, but they've actually got spikes on the horses as well. These chariots are formidable, but of course they do run amok if routed. And of course if they run amok, they become a menace to both friend and foe alike, killing anybody in their way. Also notice he's got the couple of units of the Cappadocian cavalry. These cavalry are pretty tough. They're good heavy cavalry. As I say, you don't see Pontus brought to 31k battlefield that much, so you don't see them in action much. But there you go. He's got a good combination of chariots and cavalry there. Plus he's got a lot of pike units too. As you know, the pike units are very susceptible to archer fire, so if you notice, he's bought fully upgraded archers. If you notice there, they've got the 9 banners on. That's fully upgraded. So even though their archers are not very good, he's done the best he can there with those archers to give his army cover and fire. And then we have my Macedon army there. Now, as regular viewers to our battle videos will know that sometimes I bring very old armies onto the modern day battlefield, and this is one of those old armies. I remember building this, well, 3 armies actually, after coming out of a battle when I saw how well the Greek cities enemy team did and how aggressive they used them. And I originally built 3 Macedon armies, and this is the one that I found worked best for me and worked best against Greek cities. So it'll be interesting to see how this old army does on the modern day battlefield. So there's our team. Looks pretty good. And here is the other team. We have RTW player Mr. A. As you know, he used to be in the IOW clan, but is now left the clan and is an RTW player. There's an RTW player there. And then we have Killer B, RTW player Killer B, and he has bought the Germania faction. I think we'll just have a look at this unusual Germania army here. As you see, he's bought 4 archer units there. Those chosen archers are always quite formidable. But looking at his main infantry, if you notice, he's bought the Night Raiders. Now, the Night Raiders are good, tough infantry in their own right, but they bring a fear factor, which lowers the morale of enemy troops. Now, he knows he's up against Pontus and Macedon, and he knows that Pontus and Macedon's morale is not very good. So I think he's bought all these Night Raider units in a hope that he's going to lower the morale of our Pontus and Macedon so much that he might cause a mass rout. Okay, and he's got his Gothic cavalry. As we've said in other battle videos, when looking at Germany, these are very underestimated cavalry, underrated cavalry, but they are extremely good. And then we have the formidable Berserkers. As we said in other battle videos, these Berserkers have got effective against armor maces and are based on real historical characters. Berserkers were often seen after a battle, running around naked, howling like banshees, covered in the blood of their enemy. So these guys were very formidable on the battlefield in real life, and those real life experiences are kind of mirrored here in the game with the specifications that these Berserkers have got. Make no mistake, these are battle winning, battle changing troops, and if used correctly, they can rout armies. So there's a Germania army there. I like it. It's very unusual with those amount of units. It's going to cause fear in our troops. Let's see how they do. And then we have the Greek cities army here, bought by Brotherhood member Gladius. If you notice there, he's bought 3 fast-moving light cavalry that he uses extremely effectively, and he's got 4 Cretan archers, and the rest of his army are the formidable Spartans. So I think it'd be interesting to see how well that army does. He handles them very well. And then we have RTW player Little Stinker, aka Scorpion King SR, who has bought the Seleucid faction. If you notice, he's bought a lot of archers there, knowing he's up against Macedon and Pontus, knowing that those archers would do a lot of damage. And then of course we move on to the infamous Seleucid Cataphract cavalry. As you say, look at the armour on them, that's why we call them the tanks of the ancient world. And make no mistake, these cavalry are battle-changing troops if used correctly. So there's the enemy team there. Lots of interesting factions and armies. It should be a good one for you to watch. Hope you enjoy it. At this very early stage of the battle, you can see that Scorpion King SR is bringing his Seleucid army round on a right flank in action there, and has actually turned our right flank. If you notice, our SBQ, our ally, is turned inwards, facing outwards on our right flank there. So that's exactly what Scorpion King would have wanted to do there with his Seleucid army. If you notice, the enemy Greek cities army has moved over as well there. And once again, the Seleucids are moving round to our right again there. Once again, trying to turn our flank. It's kind of like trying to disrupt our battle line here by doing this tactic. It's usually quite effective, so we'll see what happens there. As I say, this is a very early stage of the battle here, and as you can see, the enemy team have kind of set out their stall, if you like. Their tactic is to be aggressive and attack. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens here. As you notice there, he's making our armies move, and then that gives his archers a chance to shoot our units as they move. Units that are moving suffer more archer damage than if they're stood still, obviously facing the enemy there. So by moving round to our right flank, making us move, and using those 6 or 7 archers that he's got there, he can cause us lots of casualties actually as we move there. As I say, this is a very early stage of the battle here, and as you can see, as I said earlier, it looks like the enemy team's going to be quite aggressive. If you notice, we've also got quite a few archers ourselves as well, but looking at the archers overall, I think that the enemy do have the advantage with archers here. If you notice here on the right flank, you can see the Seleucid tank cavalry moving around here, probably with a view to threaten even more around on this right flank. So, as I say, with the enemy looking so aggressive and in such an attacking mode, this should be a good one for you to watch. At this stage of the battle, as you saw earlier, you can see that the Seleucid general there is pushing further and further around to our right there, trying to turn our right flank even more. And as I said before, as we move our units, we are then susceptible to archer fire there, causing us casualties as we move. So as I said, the Scorpion King SR there is being extremely aggressive with his Seleucid army there. Right over into the right centre here, you can see the Greek cities army is moving into our Pontus ally there, attacking our Pontus ally. You can see that already one of the Pontus pike units has now actually routed. If you notice, I'm moving my Macedon army forward. Just going to pause the game for a second here, just for us to take stock of exactly what's happening. As I say, you can see that the Seleucid army, SR's Seleucid army, is moving in on the right here in a very aggressive movement. And if you notice here that the Greek cities are moving in here to attack our Pontus ally. And if you notice that the German Night Raiders are stood out there as well, ready to charge in. Remember, those Night Raiders have got fear factor. Can you see that the Pontus unit there is intimidated by nearby enemy? That's the effect of those Night Raiders, you see. As I say, they've got a fear factor that lowers the morale of enemy troops. So already those Pontus units there are being intimidated by those units, and so their morale will drop. So, as I say, that's part of Killer's strategy there. He's hoping to lower the morale even more of Pontus and my Macedon faction there. Meanwhile, over here on the left, you can see lots of archer fire going into our units, but these two armies are not in combat at this time. But you can see the amount of arrows going into our units from the enemy team there. You can see very effective those archers will be at damaging our big pike units. Let's say Pontus and Macedon pike units are very susceptible to archer fire. Right. As you can see here, the Seleucid army is still moving in on the right, but you can see the Greek cities are moving in on Pontus. As you can see, I've moved my Macedon army forward to support my Pontus ally there. Right, can you see the Greek cities are attacking? Right, can you see Killer B now has charged his Night Raiders into the front of our pikes there. Okay, let's just pause the game for a second. Now the reason for it, as I said earlier, the reason for this is because each one of his Germania Night Raider units have got a fear factor that are lowering the morale of our troops. And what I think he's hoping for here is a mass rout of our forward units. If you notice, with the Greek cities attacking plus those Night Raiders hitting as well,
plus the archer fire going in. I think he's hoping it is going to rout, because believe me, if the front units of our pikes start to rout, it could mean the whole of both our armies rout there. Okay, let's say it's the general view of the battle at the moment. So with those Knight Raiders and the Greek cities units attacking, as I said, he's hoping for a mass rout here in our centre. So that's why he's attacking. So it's a gamble. It certainly is a gamble to see if that'll work, but I can see that several of the Pontus units have already started to rout. Meanwhile, out here to our right, you can see the Seleucid cavalry moving round. As you can see, my Macedon army has moved forward there, as I said, supporting my Pontus ally there. But those Knight Raiders will have lowered the morale of all our units there, and with the hit now, if you notice there, can you see that Killer now is charging in cavalry? I think he's bringing his berserker units forward at the same time as well. Right, so he's really aggressively attacking with Germania there. Okay, let's just pause the game for a second. Right, just to show you that what he's done is he's charged in with his Knight Raiders, he's got his Greek cities ally attacking our pikes, and now he's charged his cavalry in as well. He's hoping that the shock of the cavalry, the Knight Raiders with their fear factor, is going to start a mass rout of our pike units there. Meanwhile, he's started his berserkers off there, he's activated his berserkers, you can see those red banners flashing on and off, but he's taking them over slightly to our right there to attack our allies' SBQR infantry. Okay, so there's a general view of the of what's actually happening in the centre. If he can get our units to start mass routing, then the game would be over for our team, really, I think. Meanwhile, over on the right here, you can see our the Seleucid cavalry there attacking aggressively. Some of our archer units and some infantry units there. But I think in the centre, this is a pivotal part of the battle. If they can get our units to start routing, it could start a mass rout, and then our whole centre will then fold. Right, can you see those berserkers with their banners flashing red on and off, charging into our enemy, into our allies' SBQR infantry there. And if you can see that Germania cavalry, the Knight Raiders and the Greek cities really piling into our forward units there. As I say, I think Killer took a bit of a gamble there, hoping that all the fear factors and the cavalry charge and the berserkers would cause a mass rout of our units. Okay, let's pause the game for us to take stock exactly what's happening there. As you can see, you've got our allies, SBQR cavalry, and the enemy Seleucid army there attacking us on the right. You've got the berserkers that have been activated there, and you've got the Germania and Greek cities units attacking our Pontus and Macedon armies there. Meanwhile, over on our left flank here, you can see that there's starting to be some action. I think there's some cavalry action going over there on the left flank. If you notice, our Pontus ally's got his chariots over there as well, ready to charge in to support our allies' SBQR cavalry if needed. I've noticed he's also got his Pontus Cappadocian cavalry out there as well, ready to charge in if needed. So there's a general overview of what's happening at the moment. Right, I think the Germania general has just been killed there, so Germania's morale's not very good. So with the general killed as well, it wouldn't surprise me if their units started to rout there. There's a general overview of exactly what's happening at the moment. As you can see here on our right flank, the Seleucid tank cavalry are fighting our SBQR allies cavalry there. I've noticed there's a chariot, a Pontus chariot's just come in to help our ally at the same time. But if you see, can you see a lot of the Germania faction now has routed, and some of the Greek cities units have actually routed as well at this time. Over here on the right flank, as I said, you can see that Seleucid tank cavalry are doing extremely well. Right, just pause the game for us to take stock. Right, can you see that this Pontus chariot unit has now run amok? Now, as we've seen in other battle videos, if these run into our troops now, even though Pontus is our ally, it would kill both friend and foe alike. And they seem to do more damage in the run amok mode than they do in normal mode, strangely enough. But you can see here, the Seleucid army is attacking aggressively on our right, with those berserkers coming in on our right as well. Lucky for them that the berserkers have not gone right into our actual
pike units, but they've gone into our Roman ally there. As you can see, the Greek cities units are still attacking, but most of the Germania faction now has been routed there. You can see the dead at the, if you like, at the front of our pike units there. A lot of massed Germania cavalry, as well as Greek cities there, and a lot of the Germania dead are laying there in front of our Macedon and Pontus pikemen there. Meanwhile, over on our left here, you can see, remember that our ally is SBQR and our enemy is the Scipii units there, the blue Scipii units. So the purple is our allies and the blue Scipii is the enemy team there. So as you can see there, just at a glance, you can see that there's a lot of combat going on over on our left flank here. Right, you might have noticed that if you look at my Macedon army, I've turned my general to face backwards, with the pikes facing outwards at the rear, to guard the rear of my engaged pike units there, as I've noticed that the enemy seem to be making inroads over on our right there with those berserker units. If you notice, I've turned my general outwards there just to face any threat that might come in from behind us. Right, can you see here on our right flank, most of our allies SBQR infantry is starting to rout, or has been routed here on our right flank.
The enemy general flees. Press forward.
Once those berserkers start to get to work with their massive fear factor, it wouldn't surprise me if most of our SBQR allies started to rout there on our right flank. Right, if you notice there, I think our right flank, most of our right flank now has, after a terrific battle, has actually caved in now. So that could be a pivotal part of this battle here. Now, if they start moving their troops in behind our engaged troops, that could be real trouble for us here. Let's just pause the game for a second. As I say, as you can see here on our right flank, most of the enemy troops, most of our allies' troops now have been routed. And you've got Seleucid Greek cities, the berserkers, and that heavy cataphract cavalry there now are free to do what they want to move over to the centre and the our left flank. If you notice, I've turned a couple of my pike units there to face the danger that I could see coming in from the rear. Meanwhile, Steve Longshanks on our left flank is really bitterly engaged here with the enemy Scipii infantry and cavalry there. If you notice that the Seleucid cavalry are moving over to that left flank as well to charge into... probably aiming to charge into the rear of Steve's engaged infantry there. Meanwhile, all the time, the enemy archers are shooting loads and loads of arrows into our units, lowering our morale all the time and causing big casualties. As you can see there, the Seleucid cavalry are charging in to Steve Longshank's infantry. If you notice that Steve saw that and charged some infantry units into that Seleucid cavalry there to try and put a charge bonus in from his infantry to try and, if you like, neutralise the charge bonus that the cavalry were going to get there as they charged in. If you notice there, can you see the surge of that Seleucid cavalry as SR really charged them in there? You can see them actually really penetrating into Steve's SBQR units there. Right, if you notice that the berserkers are now moving over, if you notice they're chasing the nearest enemy, the nearest unit of our team there, and they're going after that SBQR unit there. See, ideally what would have been better for our point of view is for them to charge head on into my set pikes, but they're moving over to our left flank now. So if you notice, I've moved some of my Macedon units over with a view to try and set the pikes down, ready to receive those berserkers when they charge in. Right, if you notice there, the berserkers have charged in there, but now I've taken some of my pike units over. Now pike units with their pikes set down so they're ready to receive berserkers will kill them quite quickly, and that's what I'm hoping is going to happen here. See there's a few of the berserkers left now, but if you notice, most of my pikemen are down and their pikes are set now, ready to as I say, receive the attack from those berserkers there. And if you charge berserkers into pikemen, they will die quite quickly. Right, you can see Steve setting some of his infantry up here on the far right, trying to get them away from the berserker units there. Knowing the danger of the berserkers, he moves them away from them, which is a good move there. You notice this Pontus chariot here that has run amok.
is very close to Steve's infantry. What Steve doesn't want to do is that chariot unit to run into his infantry, because it could cause the rest of his units to rout there. Okay, meanwhile here can you see that there's a few Greek cities and Seleucid units still attacking my Macedon units here in the centre. As I remember all the time that the enemy archer advantage there is being used incredibly well. They're shooting loads and loads of arrows into our units, causing a lot of casualties. So there's a general overview exactly what's happening at this time. If you notice, I'm running some of my Macedon units over that I'd actually use to fight the berserkers with. I'm moving them over hopefully to get behind the attacking enemy units that are still attacking my my Macedon pikemen there. You've noticed Steve Longshanks bringing his SBQR infantry over as well, and we've managed to to rout the last of those enemy pike units that were still attacking there. If you look at the battlefield, you can see that it's a very spread out battlefield. From one flank to the other, there was intense fighting, it seemed to me, all over the battlefield there, right from the right flank through the centre, right over to the left flank there. So, I'd say it was very aggressive tactics there by the enemy team right from the beginning. You see, there's still some Pontus chariot units running around the battlefield, running amok. As I say, they're both when they run amok, they can be a menace to both friend and foe alike. And as I said, it seems that they seem to do more damage when they run amok than, if you like, in normal mode. So the last thing you want to do is have any of your units near those run amok chariots. And there you go. If you look, have a bit of a closer look there, you can see where the intense fighting was here on the right flank. You can see a lot of the dead there. And if we move over from that right flank through the centre, you can see the piles of dead there. It shows how intense kind of the fighting was all over the battlefield there. That's the centre there. Now we move over to the left flank and you can see the piles of dead there as well. So I say this was sometimes battles are fought at different parts of the battlefield where you see the most intense fighting, but as you can see here, all over the battlefield was intense. As I say, the enemy set their stall out very early in the game and decided to be aggressive and attack right from the beginning. There's still a few enemy archer units left, but I think it looks like our team has managed to gone on and won the battle. The first thing I'd like to say is really well played to everybody in the game there. It was really nice to see the enemy team being so aggressive at the beginning of the battle, really setting out their stall there. So well done to Scorpion King SR, well done to Gladius. If you look at Gladius's kills of Greek cities, to get over 2,000 kills is always good in the 31k battle there. I know he was fighting big units like Macedon and Pontus, but to get 2,000 kills plus is always good. So really well done to Gladius with his Greek city units there. But once again, new players watching this, you can see that even with the highest kills, it doesn't guarantee that your team's won the game there. I'd like to say really well done to Terrible Turk. If you look at his kills with Pontus, very good. Well done to Steve Longshanks and well done to Exilius there. Exilius held really well on that right flank against that Seleucid massive attack he was getting there. Plus with the berserkers hitting him as well, he did extremely well there on that right flank. Let's say Killer took a chance from that Germania army, bringing all those Night Raiders to bring their fear factor and lower the morale of Pontus and Macedon, and hoping for a mass rout there. So it was a gamble, but it was kind of a tactical gamble there that could have paid off, because if our forward units had started to rout, then that gamble would have paid off, and probably our whole centre would have routed there. So so that was, as I say, a calculated gamble there by Killer, bringing all those fear factor units, so it could have paid off. So once again, really well played to everybody in the game. I hope you enjoyed the battle. If you did, please subscribe to our channel. Always good to see new subscribers. Spartan Commander saying bye for now.